Welcome to this episode of the Extraordinary Millionaire podcast. Now, in this episode, my colleague and co-author of The Rock Bottom Paradox and the business, theextraordinarymillionaire.com, Martin Foster's with me. We're going to be talking about, we're going to be talking the stuff where the rubber hits the road, aren't we? We are talking about the core fundamentals of The Extraordinary Millionaire, where we go from the storytelling elements of the book and the mindset, which we've discussed numerous times, but on past episodes of this podcast, into the more practical elements of how do we actually turn those mindset techniques into making money and becoming successful. How do we actually do that?
Yeah, I think let's address that, right? I think that everybody knows that 9 times out of 10, in order to live in this world, we need money. Yes. I think that what we know is that there's a lot of preconceptions or misconceptions about what money is.
Money's a dirty word, isn't it?
It's horrible. I mean, people sneer at it. They think it's bad to want to make money. They think that the making of money is bad. I think they don't understand it. It is. I mean, that's the worst saying ever, right?
Rich people are mean and horrible.
I mean, you think of a rich person, you think about Scrooge, right? Scrooge McDuck and evil and badness. And it's just not true. No, so,
absolutely not. I think, the attitude of people to money is the first thing that we address, one of the first things we address in this technical side of the book, and reframing your attitude to money.
Yes.
I met a lady a few months ago, and I remember very clearly she was highly successful at what she was doing. And she would be speaking on stages across the world and being paid £20,000-30,000 for appearances. Incredible public speaker, and they were her business. And they did sort of life coaching and stuff off the back of it. But she didn't make enough money. She really didn't make any money for what she was doing in where she should be. And she sort of said, I feel bad about making money. I just do this because I love it and I like sharing and helping other people. I said, well, that's great, but it's okay to make money as well. And monetize your business and think about it differently. And it was very clear when she said, well, is it wrong with me to want a bigger house? I was like, no. Why would it be wrong?
No.
If that's what you want, go and get it and stop the little voice in your head telling you that money's bad.
Yeah. And I think what's important, and I think we should probably hit it right out at the beginning of this conversation, is that everything that we're discussing is going to be about ethically making money.
Of course.
I think that there are plenty of unscrupulous people out there that...
There's sharks in the water.
And, I want to straight off, being an extraordinary millionaire is having ethics in your life and ethics in the way that we make money.
We hold our ethics extremely high. In fact, it's the highest thing. We get out of bed, if we don't do it right and we're not helping other people, we're not giving back, we're not supporting, we're not going to make money off it, And again, I think it goes into some of the core principles of the law of attraction. If you do it ethically, positive things will come back to you as well.
Yeah.
It's only a win-win. Win-win's a concept we talk about, creating win-win relationships and situations, opportunities for people.
Yeah.
But we've always taught, money should be saved. Be frugal with your money, be careful with your money, and all these phrases. I hear even my parents would say things like that, And we're brought up, aren't we, in a society where spending money is bad, but actually, you've got to spend money to make money. That's one positive one we've heard, but in an investing way, And I think focusing on where to spend that money, where to invest that money. Invest is another word for spend. If you spend it on the right thing, what is the right thing? An asset or a liability? Do you want to tell me what your thoughts are on the difference between assets and liabilities and where we should be spending our money?
See, now that's an interesting one. And if you had to ask me a couple of years ago, I would have had a completely different answer, right?
Okay.
So an asset to me is something that grows and puts money into your pocket.
Yeah.
And a liability is something that takes money out of your pocket.
Yeah.
Now, very interestingly, and this is one that maybe we can get into, there is a great misconception in this country about your own home being an asset or a liability.
Yeah. What is it?
To me, a liability.
Correct. Good answer, Martin. And we go into that in a lot more detail in the book. But for now, you've said it exactly as succinctly as I think you can. You've got to spend your money on things that bring more money in or on things that go up in value. And we're talking about really investing here. Your own home, although it might go up in value, it's all relative. If you sell it in 10 years' time and you've doubled your money, the house you're going to move into is going to be double the price it was.
Yes.
Unless you downsize in size, which is a conscious decision, or you move into a less affluent area and the property will be cheaper. So there are ways to mitigate that, but you don't want to downsize to a less.
If I may, let's explore that a little bit more, because you did it really well, right? Your first house, if you like, you turned that into an asset by renting out one of the rooms.
Yeah, I did. I retired when I was in my early 20s on renting out my rooms. I retired in terms of I earned more passive income than the sum of my expenses. So I was earning a passive income that was a positive cash flow. It put money in my bank. It paid for the mortgage, the bills, and my living, food and whatnot. And I lived in that house rent and bill free.
And how did you learn about that? Was that something you stumbled across, or was that something you just feel you intuitively knew to do?
I knew it. And you know what? I was lucky in that that was in year 2000. I bought that first property. I still own it today. Paid $137,000 for it back then. I think we had it recently valued at $450. So it's almost tripled in value. I knew because I'd already started reading books. I already had an interest in success and wealth and getting on the rich list, all these sort of goals as a kid. You think, wow, I'd love to have a Ferrari. I'd love, as a kid you dream. And that's all it is when you're younger, maybe. You're dreaming. But what I learnt to do fairly early on was start to turn those dreams into goals. And we talked about that on a recent episode, didn't we? And when you start to do that, those dreams can be very powerful when coupled with passion and understanding the rules of money. Understanding the rules of money, what is an asset and a liability, is incredibly important. And it's so fundamental that, it seems easy and obvious when you just talk about it in such basic terms as we are now. Of course, the book goes into more detail. But once you understand that and you treat everything, I know I don't buy anything apart from the shirt on my back, that isn't inherently worth something that I think I could resell. Like I collect antiques,
yes,
and art and this kind of stuff. I love. I'm a very creative person, actually, and I think that feeds into my work in terms of creating businesses and creative marketing and creative deal making. And I'll always buy something not only because I like it, but we're talking about material things, just as an example. But something I think I could sell later for more than I paid for it.
Yeah.
Because I can't get the investor out of me. I'm not someone that will go and spend hundreds or thousands of pounds on an IKEA wardrobe that's going to be worthless the second I put it up, other than for its intended use. In 5 years' time, the thing's going to fall down.
Yeah.
I won't ever buy. I'll buy a higher quality piece of furniture, maybe an antique, because I know it's going to last another 100 years and it'll only be going up in
value
because it'll become scarcer and rarer. Investing in general, I believe, is also fundamentally underpinned by scarcity.
Yes.
If you look at Bitcoin, there's only a certain number of Bitcoin ever made. They're only going to get rarer as the population grows and it gets more in demand. I'm not suggesting this is an investment advice. Put the small print, please. But something that is rare, and it could be gold, could be silver.
Well, gold is a very good, example of that. Given that what you could buy for an ounce of gold 100 years ago, you can buy for an ounce of gold now, roughly. So it's a stable value through time.
You can peg real monetary value to over time, and it's a shame that we're now in such an inflationary period in economics in many countries, the UK, the US, because banks are now printing money. And so the reason things inflate in price is because they're printing money at a rate they've never printed before. What I mean by that is, I forget the exact year, but a long time ago, within the last 100 years, the American government took the dollar off the gold standard.
Yes.
It used to be pegged to an actual amount of gold.
Yes.
In the cellars of the central bank.
Yes.
They removed that correlation directly to a big pile of gold, and they just print as much money as they want. So if the economy's failing or in a low point, they print more money to stimulate the economy. And what that does over time, it inflates the value of real goods. And it can inflate the value of real assets. So the importance of investing in real assets, and that could be commodities, gold, silver, diamonds, property, antiques even, arguably, is that it will inflate over time. I like to look at certain investments like gold and those sort of commodities more like a better store of cash.
Mm-hmm.
The anti-example here is that if you actually have a wad of cash, £100, put it under your mattress for 10 years, it's only now effectively worth, let's say there's 2% inflation a year, whatever, it's now only worth, 80% of what it was.
Exactly. So you're effectively losing money by saving.
By saving cash under your bed, you're losing money.
Yeah.
Every single day. It's the worst thing you can do is hold a lot of cash.
And 9 times out of 10 about having in a bank account is only slightly better, but in real terms, no.
Probably zero, isn't it? If you're getting 2 or 3% interest rates, probably.
And you'll be lucky to get 2 or 3%.
You'll be lucky. Yeah, absolutely.
So Nick, let's have a look, because I think there's a lot of viewers that are going to think of money and it's complicated, and we've kind of gone a little bit complicated at the beginning of it. But let's take it back to a little bit of the easy stuff. Is like, maybe let's explain your view on the difference between earning money and making money. They sound similar, but they're not, are they?
No, they're not. Earning money is where you have to put time in. It's like getting that 9-to-5 job. It's exchanging your time for money, which is not a good way to become wealthy. You can earn a lot of money. You can save a lot of money if you have a good high-paid job, but you'll exchange an awful lot of your soul to the devil, the employer.
The corporate devil.
The corporate devil, if you go for a job and earn your money. The way to make money is to have that money make money for you. It's also leveraging debt in the right way and understanding good debt versus bad debt. That's a concept we talk about in the latter half of the Extraordinary Millionaire book. And that's critical as well.
Maybe you could just give an example of good debt versus bad debt, Nick, quickly.
Absolutely. So bad debt would be taking a credit card and buying a new car.
Yeah.
10 grand, bam. That car is a liability, assuming it's not like an investment grade classic car or something. There are some assets that you could argue for sure are investments if you know what you're doing.
Well, if it's a taxi that's generating monthly income for you.
Well, that's different.
That's part of a business.
That's a business and that's an investment.
So then that bad debt would turn to good debt?
Exactly. So investing your credit card into a business is good debt, assuming you get it right.
Yeah.
But buying a liability with it, so it's buying an asset or investing in an asset, whether that be a physical asset, gold, silver, crypto, or antiques, or education.
Education. I was going to say knowledge is a big one.
What we do at the extraordinarymillionaire.com is coach people. I do consultation and coaching, as you know, for people building their businesses and their property business going into development, helping them do that and de-risk it and accelerate them faster. That's an investment in yourself. It's not a liability. So I think it's tying the concepts of the asset and liability into good debt and bad debt.
So good debt on a development
is investing into an asset or education or your future or your business.
Or a mixture.
Yeah. Bad debt is investing in a liability.
Yes. And this is obviously covered in both The Extraordinary Millionaire, very heavily covered on a book that I know that you consider to be paramount, which is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. You read that a lot. One of the staples in my library as well.
Definitely.
Nick, I want to talk a little bit more about the property side of things, because you've mentioned that a couple of times now, and I know property is your passion, right? And if you go back through any number of wealth creation books, I think that the majority of them, at the core of any wealth development strategy, will have property. Maybe you can give your views on why property, over a period of time, is such a good vehicle for long-term wealth creation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this starts, before I sort of answer that, why property? I sat there when I was younger, sort of, how do I become successful? As I started my journey to becoming an extraordinary millionaire and building my knowledge base to form the content of this book, one of the things I did, I sat there and went, look, how am I going to make money? Like, what do I do? What product do I release? What do I invest in? How do I do it? What do the top 100 rich list do? And I went through them. So what do they do? What business are they in? I researched their area, their field of making money. Well, then 80, 90% of them did property, or did property in some form. Of course, there are the Elon Musks.
Or at least owned property, even if that wasn't their core business.
They had a significant investment in property.
Yeah.
Exactly. They might have made their money from oil or mining or in the internet or PayPal, in the case of Elon Musk, for example. But then they would invest that in property as well. So I was like, well, that's a pretty common thing. And also size, deal size is important. If you're going to make a widget, make glasses for 50p, you make them for 50p, sell them for £1, how many are you going to have to sell to become a millionaire? Well, in that example, 2 million.
Yeah.
That's a lot of glasses to sell.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. Well, what if you can invest in a property using other people's money, which might be the banks, it might be an investor, it could be the bank of mum and dad and family members, or it could be a group of work friends investing. You could use that money, put it in property, make £200,000 in a year from one reasonably small deal. One of the examples I like to give is a recent client of mine. The video is on our YouTube. Go and look up the care home that Paul and Andrea did with me. Recently, we found it for them on our first consultation session, went on to get planning permission, turned it to a large house of multiple occupation, which is an HMO for short. They've just had that refinanced at the end and the end valuation done, and they've made over £2 million gross profit. They pulled out their initial investment money and a couple of £100,000 in positive cash flow, still own the property that brings them £10,000 a month with £2 million.
And that one deal has basically covered their costs. So if they chose to, they could retire tomorrow.
They could be retired off one deal. So there's no other asset class that allows you to invest and have the ability to earn significant wealth so quickly with one deal. You don't have to sell 200 glasses. You do one property deal, and you can become a millionaire with that one deal.
And Nick, do I need to have thousands of millions of pounds behind my name to do this?
No, of course not. I mean, look, it's all relative. It depends on the size. And I wouldn't recommend everyone goes out and does what was £1 million purchase for that with roughly £1 million to do it and a 4 million end value. It's a big deal. The guys had the money already to do that from previous life, work and other investments. This was only their second deal. So they needed about, I think, 700 grand for that deal. Yeah. Which is a lot of money. Not 700 grand. So you start smaller or you find other investors. I also coach people and do my consultation, helping people attract investors. So how do you go and find the money? So the answer to your question is no, you don't need any money. You just need to learn how to find money and how to create win-win relationships for investors who will invest in you and your idea or your property deal. If you're credible and honest and reliable and well presented, we'll create the right pitch for you. We'll create your own why. We'll help you build your own why. We'll help you with marketing and websites and how to speak to investors, pitch decks, the legal structure of how to give an investor security and offer them something that's safe and secure to invest in. I teach people all of that in my consulting business. You don't need money to do it. But you need to be prepared to work hard and to build a business and to build the connections to be able to work with people that do have money.
Yeah, and I've been privileged enough to work with you and some of your clients, and the one things I really always enjoy about your sessions is that you always tie it to their why and make sure that their strategy works with them as a person and meets their needs and is something they care about. So I love the way that you bring, and we talk about it a lot in the Extraordinary Millionaires, you bring the mindset tools and the passion and the why into the physical where the rubber meets the road. So it's an amazing process to watch.
Yeah, it is, like I said before, it's almost there's a bit of very much life coaching in there. It's not just this is how you do a property deal, although construction expertise is a big part of what I do in helping people build the sites they've got effectively and at low risk. But the mindset and the coaching of their business and their why is really important. And I've actually had clients come to me that I've started consulting. We're a session or two in, and I send them away and say, don't do property yet. Go and get the business you'll do going. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Get that business that you're already running. Remember, one chap was a builder.
Yeah.
He'd built one house recently for himself and sold it, made some good.
Yeah.
He wanted to give up and do property full time. Said, you're absolutely mad. get your business running with a manager. You've already got a successful business you've been running for 10 years. You've got great clients. You've got full books. You're earning good money. Go and build that business a little bit further. Get it more passive. Get a management team and get a manager. Get a better website. Get a better quoting system. Automate your bookkeeping. Outsource your bookkeeping. Outsource this. And I actually coached him in his current business first.
Yeah.
And that was what we did. And now he's gone away to build that. And he's coming back in a few months when he's done that. And he's already sent me a few links. We stay in contact with all my clients on WhatsApp. So in between our sessions, we're talking and I'm giving them quick snippets of advice when they need it to keep going in between, more formal sessions. And he's doing brilliant. He's got a whole new website.
Yeah.
He's starting to do YouTube videos that I showed him how to do and got him confident to take that step to get in front of the camera. And he's done that, and he's out there making social media content and building his brand.
That's really interesting you say that. So one of the core concepts that you teach both in your books and on your consulting sessions is, if you've got something that's working, or if you are working and enjoying what you're doing, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. We can run concurrent strategies.
Definitely. You can be in a full-time job and we can get you going. I'd always say to someone that's got a job, they're thinking about leaving their job to go full-time, don't do it. Because you want to build it up slowly. If you're under financial pressure, it's a very different ballgame to just following your passion and your why to start the business. You don't want to be in negative pressure, and you're much better off doing it gradually if you can.
Yeah.
And I think anyone, whether they've got a full-time job or they've got another business or whatever they're doing, you can certainly run it concurrently. You can be as hands-on or hands-off, be as passive as you like. Passive income's a key financial strategy we talk about in the Extraordinary Millionaire, and that comes from investing in assets that put money in your bank, as you described the concept earlier about what is an asset, what's a liability. Passive income comes from the income from those investments in your assets, and I'd encourage people that their asset is their current business if they have one, to make sure that's running well, and then diversify. And this chap, as a builder, has now got an even more successful business that's growing. He'll automate that, so that business will become a passive investment. Passive income is a bit of a funny one. You hear all the gurus talk about it, but for me, passive income is only passive when you want to stop moving forward. Okay, I've ironically never had passive income because I'm always pushing forward and always growing, and I'm not going to sit around doing nothing. I'm still growing. I'm still now pushing Extraordinary Millionaire to help other people, and that's my passion. So that's not passive because I'm working. I'm exchanging my time for money, but I'm doing it because I love it and it's passion. I want to grow the business. If I wanted to sit here now, I could live off my investments in my current.
But Nick, surely that's the definition of an extraordinary millionaire from reading your book. It's about doing what you love and getting paid for it. I mean, what more could anybody ask for? Surely that is the epitome of success, right? I
think so, yeah. And that leads into happiness. So for me, if I were to say what is the one thing that makes you an extraordinary millionaire, is if you're happy. And that's the goal,
And that comes from having options.
That comes from having options and choice and
freedom.
Good investments.
I know personally how difficult it can be to get hold of you on a Friday, for example.
Yeah, no, it's pretty protective of my my Fridays because I need to catch up from a week maybe. I need to do a few emails, and I want to finish early.
Yeah.
Or have the day off if I want to.
Exactly.
And so I need to give myself that freedom and choice to have that space. So I try and organise my day into certain sections. I'm usually only really contactable Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays. Those are the days I'm open for meetings and bookings and external work, because you can busy and fill your whole week with talking to other people, but you've actually got to do some work as well.
So Nick, how would we're going to have people that are sitting there watching this and they're going, it's okay for you to say that, you're a multi-millionaire property developer. You've built all of this choice. I can't do that because I'm working 9 to 5. How would you suggest they get started? What is one step or one thing that they can do today to move in a positive direction, would you say?
Go on extraordinarymillionaire.com and download because that gives you all the tools and techniques to become extraordinary and to become wealthy. And that's not a blatant sales pitch. That's just the whole reason I'm doing this book. I want to help as many people as possible achieve their goals.
I would like to add that we've made every effort to have as much free and low cost resource on that site as humanly possible. So there are all of Nick's ebooks on everything from understanding finance all the way through to property strategies and mindset available on that, along with some online coaching products and programs should you want.
Speaking of affirmations and positivity, you've got a nice jumper on there.
I have, again.
You've got the creamy grey version today.
That's correct.
You've got a lot of cool clothes on there that have positive affirmations, statements of success. That one is always believe in yourself.
Yeah.
A staple favourite.
Yeah.
But we have lots of other positive affirmations and quotes and things that will make you feel good and people that see it feel good.
Yeah.
So go and grab yourself a T-shirt and a book and join the community of positive wealth creation, extraordinary people.
Please do.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of key topics at the end of the Extraordinary Millionaire there. On previous podcasts, we've explored the Rock Bottom Paradox, which is a book Martin and I have co-authored, where we use those tools to come out of tricky situations, tricky weeks, grief, loss, and the harder elements of things that everyone goes through. We have gone through our own, and they're in that book. So you see, you are human if you have a bad day or a bad month or a bad year. And we show you the tools that we've used to overcome those. And that's led you on a journey. It's led us on our own journey to become extraordinary and to building the Extraordinary Millionaire brand. And now it's our time to share that with you guys and give it back and show you the shortcut to success. It's not a shortcut. It's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to become a millionaire overnight. But if you do the tools and techniques that we talk about in this book and on our podcasts and on our community and on our website and through our clothing brand, through all of the content that we put out, and you stick to those things and you follow them, you will become your own version of extraordinary. Thank you for the chat today, Martin.
Thank you, Nick.
I look forward to our next podcast. And for now, goodbye to you at home. Don't forget to subscribe. Click the bell icon so you get notified of our next podcast. And click the links below. Follow this, what's the word? Playlist. Make sure you click the bell icon to subscribe and get notified of the next episodes in this podcast. And if you haven't seen them already, check out the playlist that this video will be a part of and see some previous episodes where we've talked about various elements of all of the concepts we talked.
All the episodes, all the books are available at extraordinarymillionaire.com.
Absolutely. See you on the next episode very soon. Take care for now. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.